What do we have here? Well, let's see, custom audio electronics, RST. Is 16 MIDI foot controller, 16 because there's 16 buttons. And there's not a whole lot of information online about these. The custom audio website has some documentation. I printed out some of the pages here. These are the different sizes of the foot controllers that they have. Revised 2018. And so some of the things that I've learned, let's see. I've programmed this thing to speak to all of my MIDI devices, and I really took my time trying to get this thing kind of understood each step of the way, and there's a ton I don't know. But first of all, this is the standard operating mode of the foot controller. It's preset A mode, and what you see here is the bottom row of buttons has been programmed to be presets. You'll notice there's one different color preset. I'll try to get into that. I don't know a whole lot about that yet. I'm trying to learn. And then the upper buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, correspond to the 8 loop switches in my GCX MIDI loop switching rack unit. So when I push 1 shows up. When I push 2 shows up, and I can take them off. So they're like direct access switches, instant access switches. So let's say I have 8 pedals and I put them in the loops of the GCX. I can store, let's say, the first 3 pedals in this preset, so that, let's just do it for an example. I press store. So now it's stored into my preset 1 button, along with all the MIDI channel switching and preset switching I've programmed already. So I'll go back to my next preset, which is a 80s clean tone. And now that button was stored into that preset. And when I go back to 1, the 3 direct access switches are lit up like I had just stored. I don't want them though. They're just an example. So I'm gonna take them off and then hit store. And so now it's gone. And if you notice, let's say I go back and I want to do something different on this preset. I want to add this direct access switch. When I do, this C indicates that there's a change that's happened that hasn't yet been stored. So if I go to the next preset and I go back, that change wasn't stored with it. But if I turn on that switch and I store it, the C goes away. The change has been stored into the memory. But remember, I don't want that there for now. So get rid of it. Bingo. So I've got my presets all stored. And when I change, the GCX, activity switch lights up to say it's receiving MIDI change, data, but it's not storing anything. None of the loops are being activated, so it's not really changing the status of the loops. But my MIDI devices, my Korg, my Synergy, and my GeForce all change accordingly when I switch the preset, right? So once again, here's a 80s clean. There's a normal clean. I've also programmed in my GCX to switch between my Synergy 2 channels. I mean my Synergy and my Eggie meter, and it's the program changes I store into the RST that change the actual module I'm using or the channel I'm using in the Eggie meter. Okay, so getting back to this thing, the way you get into the edit menu system is through this edit button. Now I'm in edit mode. You see that box that's flashing means that I'm in edit mode. And this particular function in the edit menu system allows me to title a preset. I'm going to toggle up to the next item in the edit menu. virtual controller A states, I've not really gotten into that yet, so I'm going to skip through that. Program change A, so it's saying in bank 1, program number 1, which, let's see, that's what I'm currently on. So in the preset A mode, I'm on preset 1 in bank 1. So when I go to edit mode, it says that program 1, bank 1. That is telling me that the Egnator, let's see what happens if I go here, is my preamp here that is calling up program change number 1, which is my clean channel preset. So this is where I begin programming the individual devices and what their program changes are in this preset. So Eggie program 1. Synergy isn't being used in this particular preset 1, but it's still set up for a clean channel on the Synergy. Korg is program number 16, which is true. TC, okay, here's a weird one. It's saying that I'm calling up program number 47 on the GeForce, yet it shows up as 48 because there's that weird offset where it it's off by 1 number in terms of the Midi program change numbers. So I have to remember that if I want preset number 48, I have to go 1 number down from there. And there's probably a way to fix that too in the RST. I just haven't gone there yet. 5 is my PCM. It's not in the rack at this time, but I've saved the slot for it. And 6 is GCX. And there is no program change on that particular preset. Okay, so going through that, I'm still in the edit menu system. I haven't gone into this particular function because the box is still flashing, so I haven't activated this program change menu selection yet. I don't need to because I'm not going to change anything. So I'm going to go up using the bank up switch to get to, okay, virtual controller, preset, pedals. Okay, these 4 buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, represent the 4 pedal jacks on the custom audio electronic Midi foot controller back here. So I've got 4 pedal ports that I can assign pedals to, and this button, when it's lit up, allows me to program what's in pedal port number 1. If I push 2, it goes to 2, and I can program that one for the CC commands. 3, 4. Okay, so that's how you get into programming the expression pedal jacks. I'm going to continue up the menu system. Program B. Okay, so preset A and preset B are 2 totally different preset banks in the foot controller. So essentially, I can have 200 banks of preset A and 200 banks of preset B. It's like having a second pedal board, basically. But I haven't really gotten into programming on that preset B mode yet. So that's just there to know. And the controller states that go with that preset B mode. Devices. Okay, so this is where I program my devices to tell the RST what MIDI channel to communicate with my devices on. So right now, device number 1 is set up to be Eggie IE4 preamp on MIDI channel 1. My Synergy is on MIDI channel 2. My Korg is on MIDI channel 3. My TC is on MIDI channel 4. My PCM will be on MIDI channel 5. And my GCX, which is the 6th device in the list, is actually on MIDI channel 16, because that's the channel it comes default set at the factory at Voodoo Labs or Digital Music. It's because I knew that I just programmed it into the RST to talk to that device on MIDI channel 16. And then that's the last device. So there's nothing else that I'm controlling via MIDI. But I've got 6 devices so far. Moving up the menu, I've got my direct access switches. And what this is showing me is that direct access button number 1 has been programmed for CC number 80 on MIDI channel 16 to correspond with the GCX loops, because by the factory default for the GCX is that it talks on MIDI channel 16, and loop number 1 corresponds to CC number 80, so that's what that's saying. 2 is CC number 81, that would engage the second loop. Loop number 3 is CC 82. Loop number 4 is 83. Loop number 5 is 84. Loop number 6 is 85. Loop number 7 is 86. And loop number 8 is 87. So 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87 are the numbers, the CC numbers that the GCX uses to engage the loops on MIDI channel 16. And as you can see, the DAC, or the direct access switches, are lit up in red to indicate those are DAC switches. Moving up the menu, direct access number, let's see. I forget what that is for the time being. Direct, not sure. I'm going to skip on that for now. VCA, so the virtual controller A menu system. I'm not going to get into that one either. I haven't really set that up. VCB, that's the virtual B buttons. I'm not going to get into that. Banks. Okay, here's where I tell the RST that I want to limit the amount of banks I can access. I don't need 200 banks worth of information on this thing. I set the low limit to 1 and the high limit to 5. So I've only got 5 banks that I can see. And to verify that, when I go back to my preset mode, my normal mode, I can bank up and it'll go to bank number 2. Nothing's in there. Bank number 3, bank number 4, bank number 5, and then it rolls back to the original bank number 1. So I've only got 5 banks that I really want to deal with. I don't need 200 banks to confuse myself with. Going back to edit mode, switch types. This is where you define what switches are doing what. So, like I said before, I've got my top 8 buttons are direct access switches, indicated by the red LED to talk directly to my GCX. So very conveniently, there's 8 loops, and there's 8 buttons in this row that I've dedicated to that function. The bottom row of 8, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dedicated to presets, standard preset A presets, like we all know and love. And this one is a preset B button, and I've only done that just to prove to myself that I can program a preset B button on the preset A default setting. Ultimately, what I'd like to be able to do is engage this preset B button to act as a loop controller to turn off looping functions in a device. I've got a bunch of different pedals that'll do looping, and I could, possibly set it up to where once I press the preset B, some of these buttons change into looper switching functions like record, play, stop, undo. And Bob wrote into the manual, I didn't print that page, but on the end of the main manual, he talks about setting up the RST to be a looper controller for a timeline, and he walks through the process with you. So that's pretty cool. That's what gave me the idea. Let's see. So moving up. So I could make all of these direct access switches if I wanted to. Like if I didn't have any MIDI devices that I needed to talk to on MIDI channels to change presets, and all I had was pedals, I could essentially set these all up to be direct access switches to control those pedals. I'd still need a looper, you know, and I'd still need to be talking to it. So technically that would be one MIDI channel I'd need to allocate to a looping system. But that way you'd have all your buttons for all of your different pedals, and then you could set up presets in there if you wanted to, you know. Anyway, so you can make these all direct access. You can make these all presets if you wanted to. You can make this half presets, this half direct access, however you want to lay them out, because you can define whatever this button is for your own interest. Colors. It just basically gives you, I guess, the option to change the color for the function. I mean, they give you a default setting of when it's in a preset, it's blue, and when it's in a direct access, it's red, but this next menu indicates that you can probably change that. You can make the presets green or whatever, you know. Let's see. System, it gives you the system version. V1001, and it asks you, do you want this one to be the master? If you have a couple of, you know, RST foot controllers that you're controlling, one backstage, one front of stage, you can tell this one, okay, I want you to be the master, the other one's the slave. User SP Global Bank, I haven't really gotten to this name. Dump bank, so you can dump the information that you've stored into the RST, back it up with a computer so that you can you know, preserve it for a later time. You can bring it back if something happens, it gets corrupted or something weird, although I couldn't imagine that happening. Or you can dump your information from one RST foot controller into another one if you have a backup. You use these ports, these I think it's the expander ports, or maybe it's the MIDI ports. The expanders maybe just be to connect from one RST to another. But here's the expression jacks. Here's power outputs for additional little pedals if you want to run them next to the foot controller. Remotes. These are typically proprietary RST or custom audio type connectors. These 3-pin XLR type connectors that connect to other custom audio devices. These are actually used as MIDI connectors, I believe, for them. This program output, I think, is for use for the factory when they're setting things up in the foot controller. You have a USB port, you have the power input. If your system didn't provide phantom power, mine does. I'm plugged straight into the GX or GCX, the MIDI input jack from the MIDI out of the RST, and the MIDI output, or the MIDI input jack provides phantom power over the MIDI cable to the foot controller and the proper orientation of the pins and the proper power. So that's really cool. So I just need this one little MIDI cable to power my world. And 2 rack. So that's their the cable jack for their gear. So dumping the information is possible to external devices. Toggle up. The next thing, this is a cool feature, the memory feature. I just used it recently. So it allows you to swap presets. So let's say you have one preset here that you want to move over to here, and this one over to here. You can swap their positions by using this feature. Let's see. If I enter this menu feature and I go up, I can toggle through the various things that this memory feature in the edit menu allows you to do. So you can clear presets, you can copy one preset to another location. That's always nice too, when like you have a preset you like and you want to save it to another preset and edit it a little bit, so you can save the original and edit the new one. That's always a good thing. So it tells you you're in bank 1 and they ask you what preset you want to select to move, you know, so you go down that road. You can move presets, you can swap presets, yada yada. Okay, so there you go. So I'm going to exit. Let's see. To get back into just the general edit menu system. So I'm going to toggle to the next item in the menu system, program change map. I think what that one does is receives incoming signals from another RST foot controller and maps it to specific presets on the receiving foot controller. Song title, so you can title your songs if you want to set up the foot controller to work that way, where you have a song and you have different presets within the song, so that you know you have a certain set of effects for the intro and then the verse and then the chorus and then the lead or whatever. You can set the presets up within a song title. You can do song lists. And then we get back to this thing, program change. So this is back to where we started, and it's just basically reflecting it in the preset A mode. I am selecting program or patch change number 1 on the Eggie. Number 1 on the Synergy, 16 on the Korg, right? It's kind of what we talked about before. So now I'm going to go back into the normal preset A, bank 1, performance mode. And here we are. So I've got Fender clean, pretty simple Fender clean tone on my preset 1, 80s clean on preset 2, Vox rhythm on preset 3, Egnator crunch channel 3, preset 4, Egnator lead channel 4 on preset 5, my Synergy SL module crunch tone on preset 6, SL plus lead tone on 7, and then 8 is this preset B mode, which actually is kind of funky. I'm not exactly sure yet how to use it, like I said before, but I'm trying to get there. Anyway, that's what I got so far, and hope there was something in there for you. Aloha.